You're listening to Practical Wellness with best-selling author, TEDx speaker, and mind-body wellness expert, Jaya Myra. Learn how to create good mental, emotional, and physical health simply and naturally with practical lifestyle tips for holistic well-being. Jaya Myra has inspired audiences worldwide and is here to empower you to live a healthy, purpose-filled life. And now, your host, Jaya Myra.
Hey everyone, Jaya Myra here. Welcome to another episode of Practical Wellness. Today I have a very special guest, Taryn Maynard, with me. He is an author. He has an amazing personal story of resiliency to tell. I am so honored to have you here today to talk about your book, process of writing. I love talking with fellow authors. You know, this is totally my jam. So Taryn, welcome. It is a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Absolutely. So your book, Live and Let Die, came out a few months back. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the book and what inspired you to write a book? Because we all know writing is a labor of love.
Yeah, writing is more than just a labor of love. It's it's a mental sport, in my opinion. And I started Live and Let Die in high school. I was a senior, and I was in a creative writing class. And the teacher assigned a 5-page long short story. And truthfully, at the time, I was creatively exhausted because any writer can attest to this. We all run into creative blocks, and those could last for weeks, months, or, some people years, honestly. That idea isn't there. So I had no idea what to write because I was so honed into my poetic and poetry way of writing, because that's the unit that we came off of right after short stories, and then after that was screenplays and things like that, which I've all written before. It was just at the time I just had no idea. So yeah, he said 5 pages, and I got to writing. It was a few days where I didn't have the ideas. And then I just started writing and writing and writing and writing. And then it just poured out of me organically. It's just writing for me is that indescribable feeling that, you just put down to paper, and then you get to read it back. And then, it's beautiful. Anytime I read something back when I don't know exactly what the idea is, I'm like, okay, I can figure out what that is. Like I never put titles on things before I start writing the story. I go back and then I see what the feeling of it is, and then I put a title on it. And that goes for poems, short stories, screenplays, or whatever.
Absolutely. Totally understand that. We never really know what something's going to turn into, until it's usually on paper, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You have a pretty amazing experience of recovering from a traumatic brain injury. How has that impacted your writing?
Oh, I think it's the cause of the way I write, how I write, because I write in such a personable and, emotional way, because I've gone through very personal and, emotionally exhausting experiences. And that, whether that be the social aspect of high school, because I didn't have a very good experience in high school, or just all the information I had to take in. I'm 14 years old being surrounded by surgeons who are saying all of these things that I have no idea what they mean. But, I got to trust this surgeon to do a surgery on my body, or I have to trust this physical therapist to tell me what to do and how that's going to better myself. Because my whole goal, the path I was on back then, was bettering myself, but I failed to acknowledge, self-love, because you can't, for me, at least personally, I think it's self-love is the first step to thriving at anything in life. You need to love yourself first before you get into doing anything. With Live and Let Die, if I didn't love myself while I was writing that book, I wouldn't have fallen in love with that story as I was writing it. It wouldn't be the story it is now. It would have been, something that wasn't my best possible work I could do, because I was more focused on other things.
Absolutely. And as a writer myself, I think that people can really feel that. Like they can feel when you put your heart and soul into a book, because it really connects the story together, and it's not just information on a piece of paper.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me. I've had, a few people say, oh, I read your book. And my first reaction is to say to them, but did you live it? Because if you didn't live it, you didn't read my book. You know, you didn't fully experience, you know, everything that's in it. I wrote it in such a way to where I wanted, you know, not just me as the writer to, you know, say, oh, I lived it, you can live it too. And, you know, have that be a false narrative that I'm pushing for, you know, my debut novel. This is my first novel ever. And, you know, I've had some people who say, you know, I can see exactly what happens. I can hear what's happening. I know exactly where it is happening, because a lot of the setting is in Rhode Island. If you're from Rhode Island, you know, as I am, you know exactly where parts of this book are happening. And you know, that's the beauty of writing to me. It's a you know, writing is the vessel for that movie inside of your head. It's, you read a story, and if you have the ability to, because not a lot of people do, to imagine exactly what's happening, that's the beauty of writing. And that's why I'm just so passionate about the art of writing.
So what is it that you really hope people take away after reading your book?
I hope they take away, one, that it's a good story, at least I think it is. And second, just, you know, look at me as a person and not just, you know, the author of this book that you happen to read. You know, look into my story and see, you know, inspiration behind it. I want to inspire strength in the weak. I want to, you know, give hope to the hopeless. I, you know, want to give love to the world that doesn't have enough love in it. And it's just, there's so many things. I can't function if I just have one goal. I have to have at least a few goals. That's like, if I just have one goal, I don't know. It's just so, it's boring to me just to have one goal. I have to have many and attack it all from one angle. And then, you know, somehow some divine nature gets me to the point where I'm, you know, staring at a billboard, and that billboard says, "Live and Let Die, Taryn Maynard." I'm like, how did this happen? You know, it's amazing. And
Absolutely.
I'm so thankful, you know, more than anything, you know, my faith in God, my you know, my faith in myself. I got to have faith in myself to continue thriving in this life, or at least trying to thrive. And you know, it wasn't something that just happened overnight. This was, you know, add on 4 years of high school, that felt like 8 years of high school. You know,
Mhm.
it wasn't a slow parade. I mean, it wasn't a fast parade. It was a very slow parade
Yeah.
to finally get to that point to, you know, cross the stage. And I did an extra thing. I hugged, you know, all the people who were on the stage, you know, part of the school faculty, because everybody knew my story. And I had a better relationship with faculty and staff than I did anybody who was a peer or at my school at
Yeah.
all. And you know, that was odd for me to be like that as a kid, because I didn't understand why I talked the way I did. I didn't understand where this knowledge came from. I didn't, you know, after my life nearly ended, and it's not just something I say for, you know, the conversation. Like, I had 2 strokes. I was intubated twice. You know,
Mhm.
my oxygen level was like 40 or 60%. I can't remember. And like, I've met doctors who knew me in those stages, and I have no recollection of those stages because it's, you know, a head injury, and, you know, there's just gaps in my memory. I've talked to doctors, and there was one doctor, this was in like 2016, and I visited the pediatric intensive care unit because I was having another procedure on the other side of the hospital. And I said, you know, I don't remember this place, but let me just go and see. And there was a doctor that recognized me there, and I was 14 at the time. And he said, "I don't know how you're alive. Like, I don't know how. Like, things were so bad.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how you're doing this." And at that time, I was still in a very acute stage. I felt like my body didn't work correctly. You know, I was in, and it was a very humiliating thing, but that also gave me the strength to do everything I'm doing now and talk about it with free humility, to just be like, these are my, you know, these are my stories, and I'm going to take them with my unconditional truth and tell you about it.
So despite all the difficulties and challenges, you were still able to pour your heart and soul into this book, which I truly find
Yeah.
inspiring. And you've made a
Yeah.
couple of different references to high school, being a teenager.
Mhm.
Now, I have the luxury of seeing you on Zoom, so I know you are super young. My
Yeah.
listeners will not have the luxury of seeing you. So would
Yeah.
you mind sharing how old you are with our listeners?
I am 20, but I say that I am barely 20 years old, because I've only been I turned 20 in June. So I just
20 years old, and
Yeah.
you've already published your first novel. So guys,
Yeah,
I
I
want you to
know.
hear this. Taryn suffered a traumatic brain injury. He pushed through all this. He has already written and published his debut novel, and he is only 20 years old. So whatever excuses you may have for not getting things done, put those excuses on the back burner and just push forward. I truly believe that if you guys read this book, you're going to get a lot of inspiration. You're going to feel that raw soul and grit and passion come through. I would highly, highly recommend that you guys go pick up a copy of Live and Let Die. It's available on Amazon, major booksellers worldwide. Thank you so much, Taryn, for being here and being a guest. Your story is so inspiring, and I know that so many people are going to connect with this.
As is yours, honestly. I've, I watch a lot of TED Talks because I just love listening to these beautiful or chaotic human stories that everybody has to share. And, TED is such a great foundation to, give someone a platform to talk about that. I would love to do a TED Talk. That's like a dream of mine. I have a bucket list and it's on it. I
have no doubts you will. I mean, you've accomplished so much at such an early age. I know that whatever you set your mind to, you are absolutely going to accomplish. It is a true pleasure and honor to be able to talk to you. Everyone, go get a copy of Live and Let Die. You will not be disappointed. And again, Taryn, thank you so much for being my guest today. I really appreciate having you here.
Yeah, thank you so much. Honestly, thank you.
You've been listening to another episode of Practical Wellness. Make sure to share with your friends and family, and have a great day.